Well, hello there. Welcome to Women Around a Table Eating Food. We're Nick and Jen, therapist and writer, partners in crime, and lifelong best friends. Around here, WTF means what the food. And it's our excuse to go deep, get real, and share the kind of messy conversations that usually stay between us and a plate of something delicious. So sit back, grab a bite, and join our conversation.
Hey girl, hey.
Hey girl, hey. How excited are we today?
We're super excited. We're super excited. Well, I'm always excited to see you, but I'm really excited that I get to introduce you to our guest today, which feels super meaningful because this is something that I've wanted to do and someone I've wanted you to meet for a super long time. And so
Mm.
I'm going to cue up her intro right now and just share a little bit about our fabulous guest with you and with our listeners. And then if she enters, then we'll just interrupt and we'll just keep going. But
Great.
I am super excited to introduce you to my dear friend and author, Kennerly Clay. And she's going to be at our virtual table probably in like 2 minutes. She's a lifelong word wrangler who has spent more than 25 years helping people and brands and businesses just make better sense out of what they want to say for folks who just may not have the words themselves. She is just that person. And she's also, aside from just being a fantastic writer, one of those rare women who can talk about writing and digital strategy and cryptocurrency and animal welfare and menopause and memoirs and parenting boys and the total absurdity of midlife. And she can often talk about all this in the same conversation. And she just makes you feel heard, and she's smart. And uh, yeah, Kennerly and I, we met in April of 22 at Modus, which was a digital agency in New York City where we both worked. And I was pretty immediately drawn to her intelligence and her candor and her spark. And I think that that's what you're going to see the most. She is the author of a memoir called Letters from East of Nowhere, Daddy's Words to Live, Drink, and Die By. And it's a deeply personal memoir about her growing up amid her mostly absent father's addiction and his sort of wandering life, and the letters that he wrote her that sort of helped create a framework for what their relationship would be and help her understand him and herself as well.
Mm.
She's written other things as well, but I think the thing that we are super excited to talk to her about is this trilogy that she self-published called the Menopausal Woman's Guide series. Oh, and just as we were chitty-chatting all about you, she popped into our Zoomy Zoom.
We
Hey,
love
Miss
that.
Kennerly.
Hi. How are
It's
you
so
guys?
nice to see you.
Carry on, carry
Carry
on.
on. Well, we were playing around. Usually we do the introduction of our fair person once they are on with us, but we were playing around with what it would be like to introduce you and talk about you before you popped on. So
Yeah.
the point that I was just at was just telling people about your memoir that you had written, Letters from East of Nowhere, Daddy's Words to Live, Drink, and Die By, which is,
Mm.
by all accounts, your very deeply personal memoir
Yeah.
about growing up amid your mostly absent father's absence and his addiction and his wandering lifestyle, and the letters that he wrote you that kind of helped you understand him and a little bit more about your mom and their marriage and their relationship and
Mm.
where you fit in all that.
Wow. Beautifully
And
said. Yes.
it is, well, I mean, if you,
She's got a gift of words.
She does. She
Right.
should be a writer.
I should be a
Yes, we should
writer.
try.
I should be
We
a
should try
writer.
that out for a little bit.
Well, I think that's very kind, especially coming from you. The thing that we were the most excited to talk about today is this is your Menopausal Women's Guide series. Yep, there it is. And you've got that one, and I've got these two here,
I
right?
am so
Which are
honored. Oh my gosh.
this wildly snarky, sassy, candid, irreverent fucking self-published trilogy for women who are trying to negotiate menopause. And I think that one of the things that really sort of blew me away about this trilogy was the fact that it felt like it came out of nowhere. I mean, just and
Mm.
from my perspective, because you and I had met, and I had just told folks this before you popped on. You and I had met in April of 2022. And then one minute, as far as I knew, the series didn't exist. And then the next minute, you had somehow balanced being a mom, a full-time content strategist, a wife, a volunteer, a daughter, and then you cranked out these 3 books about absolutely losing your shit and dealing with your own shit while you were losing your shit. And they're like these little snackable, like 90-page missives that you can read in about an hour and a half if you're a quick reader, and they're perfect. And at one time when I was going through a particularly horrendous time when my restaurant was crumbling later on in 2024, all of a sudden one day, this nice, sweet little package just arrived at my doorstep to my absolute delight. And it was like, holy shit, she did this thing. So I just I think that you are amazing. I've wanted you to meet Nick for as long as I can remember because I think that her background and her decades working in therapy and a lot of the work
Yeah.
that she does now for Causeway just feels very connected. And I think one of the things that I really love about you is that it seems as though that when life has gotten hard, you have turned to writing in deep ways, in funny ways, and in ways where then it's not so personal, but then you turn around and you are trying to you help others through your worky work, like the work that you do on the regular. And so I'm uh, I'm just so grateful to have you here because your friendship has meant so much to me in this weirdo virtual time of making friends during virtual times and during COVID times and all of that and figuring out how to be connected. And I'm excited to shine a light on you with my other favorite person on the planet
Oh my
who loves to
gosh,
shine a light on people too.
so
Love
glad to meet you, Nicole. So
It's
glad to
so
meet
nice.
you.
It's
I
so
don't feel like
lovely.
I don't feel like I've like earned the right to call you Nick just yet, but
Oh,
like
oh,
if I call you
um,
Nicole, is that okay?
girl, you have earned the right.
Yeah, dude.
That's all I have to say.
God, I so appreciate your just yeah, from the mental health perspective, there's so much
Mm,
to explore, right, in terms
yeah,
of women in midlife and so forth. So, yeah.
yeah. It was really truly I was reading this and I know
Which
I'm
one
going
did you
off.
start with?
I
Did you
started
start
with
with
this
the
one.
yellow one or the
Yeah, the yellow
okay.
one. And I know I'm going off script, Jen, but that's kind of
You don't
how
have
I'm going on.
there's
I'm going
no
on. We do a lovely roadmap and we've got
there
this
ain't no
kind of thing, but like midlife is not like a pretty little roadmap. So we're gonna
I
just
wish
go with
we
it.
I wish I had a roadmap like the one Jen provided me beforehand. I'm like, wow, this
Yeah,
would be great for everything in
exa-
my life, you know?
exactly. But as
Uh,
I read this, so much of it was it's just like, yeah, like it's so relatable. And I think,
yeah.
I've delved into a lot of the menopausal stuff from a scientific perspective. There's so much
mm.
like science out there coming at us and things like that. And so like I geek out a little bit on that. And this was like the science, but not. It was just so relatable and real and honest. And it's just like the fucks and the shits and the go fuck yourselves and like just saying to my heart. So thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad the fucks and the shit sank to your heart. I think part of it too is like, we're supposed to be so transformed about it. Like, oh, I can't, I literally can't bring myself, even kind of on the other side of it, I can't bring myself to be like a full embrace of like how amazing it was. I'm like, no, it was fucking awful, and it has been
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
And yes, there's certain, wonderful things about the growth and the change and what you kind of get on the other side of it. But it's like, good Lord, really?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's everything in here is so relatable. And it also, there are themes and threads that I think run through a lot of women's experience of perimenopause and menopause, but then there's also it's so nuanced and individual, right? So Jen and I
Hmm.
have talked a bit about like she hasn't quite experienced the fire rage where she wants to stab somebody. She hasn't experienced that. And I was like, you haven't experienced the inner rage? Oh, it's good shit, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that when I sent you the books, Jen, I was like, well, if you're not there yet, you might be at some point soon. So here, you know.
Yeah.
But
I've seemed to
maybe you won't
adjust.
be.
Well, I mean, and who knows? Who knows if you, I don't, I don't know. And Nick, maybe you know this better. Like knowing that my mother had gone through it she was done by 41, and knowing that my grandmother had gone through it and was done by 33, and that I have not had biological children, and yet I don't have the rage, but I have the, like you and Nick, you and I have talked forever about how probably all of my digestive shit that came up in my 40s was very likely like all of this, or
Hmm,
and
hmm.
the the chest pains that I just attributed to sadness when my first marriage was breaking up way back in 2008, 2009, thinking, oh, okay, well, that's just because I'm sad. Well, guess what? Like, I still have those chest pains and the heart palpitations. So, like, it's really, it is everybody's journey is so fucking different. It's hard
Yeah,
to
yeah,
pinpoint
yeah.
anything, but alas. Nick, do you want to start with something, or do you want me to kick off anything?
Other than shits and fucks. Okay, I'll
Other
let's
than
say
shits,
yeah, I'll
I
go there.
love that I have freedom to say all the fucks and all the shit's not given.
all of
Yeah,
them.
all of it. Yeah, well, I was thinking about just writing in general and just how much
Sure.
of, this trilogy was cathartic for you to write. And was that like, is that what writing is for you? Has it always been like a part of your identity where it was cathartic or not cathartic, or is it just self-expression? What is it? How has it been a part of your identity, writing?
Interesting because since we are in this midlife conversation, I really couldn't write either my memoir or those other books until like the shit really started hitting the fan, or like that I got to this point in my life where I had a little bit of I had the emotional distance, a little bit of, perspective, etc. So writing hasn't always been a cathartic experience, but
Mm,
these last few tomes have been like, I gotta get this shit out. It's
mm,
like eating me alive and it's crawling out of me. So therefore
mm.
it has to come forth. So yeah. And now I'm kind of a little quiet, I'm kind of like, okay, you know, whatever
Is that
comes
because you
next.
feel like because you got it all out? Do you think?
I think I got it all out, and then
Yeah.
there's less of a burning desire to like produce something, like
Yeah.
I'm working on on something in the wings, but I'm like, whenever, whatever, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I wanted I know that I mean, you've spent your career in words and as a content strategist and as an editor, and you've worked for other organizations and you've done your own projects. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the craftiness of it all, and how does writing your own story and being the master of your own work differ from like when you have to write for clients? This is totally a craft question, but
Yeah, I mean, of course, as writing for myself, I just have the freedom, right? I can
yeah.
I can just sit, I can write the way I talk. I can use all the fucks,
Yep.
and it's interesting, even with like, even when I wrote my memoir, I've probably shared this with you before, Jen, that like I never had a moment of writer's block with that book. It was so yearning to come out of me. And I felt like I was a little bit having, I want to say divine connection, maybe with my father, my ancestors. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was channeling through me in such a way that it was like it was all just pouring and crystal clear, and I never got stuck with any of it. And then the same thing with the menopause books, which you're right, they just came out of nowhere because it was like I was like I got to get that out too. Just get it out, get it out, get it out. I have to get it out, and it was all right there. The stuff that was, I don't know, maybe like emotional, psychological stuckedness otherwise, that I was like, oh my God, I have to purge this for myself. And then I have to share it with all the women I know who are dealing with the same
Mhm.
shit,
Mhm.
So I don't know if that actually answers your question, but speaking of menopause, I'm having a hot flash right now, so I'm taking
Oh,
this off.
there you go.
I
Go for
I
it.
was in a session. No, I was in a session yesterday. I was in a session with this lovely couple. They were very just kind of boundaried and like they're not a couple that I would say shits and fucks with. And so, but I started to get a hot flash and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And I waited for maybe 5 minutes and I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to need to pause us for a second. I need to turn on the fan because I'm a 50-year-old woman and I'm having a major hot flash right now. You can see my
Oh.
V. And so
Yeah,
I could see the guy like, oh, okay. Okay. I was like, it's
yeah.
okay. Keep going. I just got to get some air.
This doesn't affect you. And for folks who aren't watching us on the two of you, Kennerly didn't take her shirt off or anything. She just took a scarf off. She said, I gotta take this thing off. I didn't want anybody to think that we
I'm
are
fully
running
exposed
we are
now.
running somewhat of a clean show here, at least
We're
optically.
we're only a few minutes in. We'll see how it
And
goes.
I know, we got a lot of time. So speaking of the shits and the fucks, like was any part of you worried about going there with the language and being that raw? And my second has, and so this is going to be a three-parter. Were you worried about being that raw? Who were you worried the most about reading? Oh, it's nice. I'm on my Mac, and anyone who's on
I was
YouTube
like,
just saw a whole bunch of balloons just go up.
balloons
I was
flying.
like, who are you? Who did you think was going to rejoice over the words that you wrote? Who were you worried the most about when they were going to read it? And did you clear any of this truth telling with Kirk before you wrote
Oof.
this?
Wow. Whew, she's going in there, right?
There you
She's
go.
getting deep.
Okay. Let me see. Now, I have a short-term memory loss, so there's three things in this question.
That's
So the
okay.
first one was
I'll back you up.
about the rawness, right?
Yeah.
The rawness and the language was easy for the most part, and even people that I ran it by a few times, in advance, said I'd actually really like you to like do more with whatever it was. Maybe it was like be even a little more in there,
Okay.
And then the second one was what? What was the
The
second
second
one?
one was who were you the most nervous
Ah,
to open up the cover and start reading?
got it. Um, I was not nervous about sharing it because I had a kind of little cohort of women who were like my first readers kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I knew that they were all dealing with similar stuff.
Mm,
Just you hear the snippets in life and you're like, oh, I know she's like, this is for you, girl,
yeah.
So I wasn't so concerned about that. I did not clear anything with my husband. And I don't know that he'll ever read any of that. And if he were to ask me tomorrow, I would be totally straight and say, it was all part of the whole growth and change that happened in our marriage. And any dirty laundry that got aired was not to throw him under the bus necessarily, but to be like, this is how my shit got fucked up
Yeah.
at this stage in life and what I've been dealing with and tolerating in a marriage and how we somehow transformed it, but like um I think a lot of times I don't know. I think we had the tools to survive it as a couple.
Yeah.
Some truly miraculous things did come out of it. But I think it was like the trigger of menopause and that midlife was, I can see why women get divorced left and right. And, in midlife, I was like, no brainer. Hello. I mean, I was ready to walk. And I don't think it was all, it's like, I think a lot of it was him, it wasn't me, although it was just me fucking falling apart
Yeah.
and realizing I can't deal with XYZ anymore. This doesn't work for me anymore. I can't tolerate that. And I'm so whatever, unhappy in this way. But yeah, I don't know if that, hopefully I didn't go too far off in the weeds there, but
No, you were perfect. And I don't want to I don't it's so funny, like I don't want to give away a whole bunch of the hinges that are in these books, but I do think that I'd love to just read just a little tiny
of
snippet
course,
from
sure. Yeah.
the early part of The Menopausal Woman's Guide to Dealing with Her Shit. Cleaning up your freak so you can get on with your life. So that is part of the trilogy. And one of the things that I truly loved about I'll call it the blue book. What I loved about the blue book is your incredible rawness and willingness to own your own shit. You talk about what it was like to look at yourself in the mirror and to admit what you had brought to the table, the things that had been so upsetting, and and when you talk about the incredible transformation that you guys had experienced. And this is only on page 12, so this just is like the setup for the rest of the book. You have this scene where you are with your therapist and with Kirk, and there's and you say, now depleted, cried out on the floor under his vacant watch. I pull myself up opposite him on the sofa. So let's just decide right now. My words are measured. Are you in or are you out? The question hangs in the air, and I can see my husband's wheels turning, contemplating the fact that he never sowed his wild oats to the extent that I did, that I will never be into some kind of open marriage arrangement, and that one of us in the room is actually fucking trying here. The therapist and I look at each other and then back at my husband, uncertain how this is going to go. I'm in, my husband finally ekes out. The therapist and I exchange glances. I adjust my head a little and I announce, well, then, I guess we have something to work with.
Damn, that's really good.
Like I just got goosebumps again. I have full body chills. I had full body chills the first time I read this. These books are this one in particular is it's so vulnerable and so honest. And the beauty is that the other end of all of this is that we could later on in this podcast talk about how the fact that you and he host a podcast now, and the two of you do things, and you travel together, and you have raised two functional, thoughtful, you know, young men. It's like I'm not like I don't have enough accolades there, but just you've made it work. And there are so many stories, so many sad stories that where couples aren't able to do it, but you found a way. And so I think that for anybody who's interested in this series, the Blue Book will wake you the fuck up. I mean, all of them are fantastic, but this one, you could have taken the easy road. You could have taken the easy road and not owned your own stuff. But I really would like to acknowledge that you showed up as an honest storyteller because you were part of it. And I'm so grateful that
Yeah.
you shared all of that. Made me ache for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for
Oh my
him.
God.
And for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for
No.
him.
Hearing those words again actually brought it all up again, in an okay way. And I think that's the pain of going there is the kind of thing, and that's one reason why I wrote that book. I don't think most people, and I'm not saying this in a judgy way, I'm just saying from what I know of the landscape, most people are not willing to go there to resolve the shit. It's like, all right, I'm done. I'm out. I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that people don't work toward the relationship or they don't get the help and the training and the therapy and the whatever, but if it's really deep and deeply embedded pain and dysfunctionality, I don't think most people are willing to do it. And if they're not willing to do that at that moment, that that dis-ease and dysfunction is going to ooze out all over their lives in other ways. It'll always be incomplete and whatever, unresolved in some way, and it'll show up in all their relationships with their kids, their parents, their other significant others or whatever, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was kind of the gist of that particular angle. You know, there's some
Yeah.
overlap obviously in all three books, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's what that one was
It
about, you
was
know?
almost too like you were assess. I often ask couples, individuals, what have you, like, are you willing to do whatever it takes
Mm,
without,
hmm
like cutting off a part of your identity to get there, but like
hmm
really, are you willing to do whatever it takes to do this, to do that? And it really allows me to assess if there's that willingness.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's almost like when you were asking your husband, like, you in or you out, like, are you willing to lean into this, or are you going to lean out? And if
yeah,
you have,
yeah.
even if you have like 10% willingness at times, like that's a doorway.
Yeah, something to grab onto, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, there are
yeah.
parts of it also makes me think of, you know, this phase of life for women in particular, where we often are shedding old roles and narratives and entering kind of a new identity and and participating in new roles and creating new narratives. Was there a particular role that you were shedding, or multiple roles that you were shedding during this kind of mid and continue to
Mm,
shed during this midlife time?
mm. You know, the thing that comes to mind, as you said that, yeah, I think there were multiple things, but it's like if I could really pinpoint something that I saw through and I do talk about this, so if you read it, I'm sure it will sound familiar, but like recognizing my codependency with him, I had basically, God, it was so shocking to me to attribute that language to myself because I was like, well,
Mm.
that's not me. Like I'm not codependent. I'm like independent. And
Hmm.
I read Codependent No More when I was 22. You know what I mean? Like I didn't need that again, you know, but like when you're in relationship with somebody over many years and then a certain dynamic develops, I fell back into a very childhood like role, which is like don't rock the boat,
Hmm.
don't make waves, don't cause upsets, just try to like get by without drama, and in the process, it was like I had completely given my power over.
Mm.
Not that that has nothing to do with him, right? It was me. Like I gave myself up, in a way, and I really had an opportunity to look at that when I was in, I was in outpatient group therapy and all this kind of stuff, and I like really had a chance to examine that from a therapy perspective and like identify who I was being in the relationship and all the decisions that I had kind of allowed him to make and or even just the everyday stuff with children. If he had a different point of view, he's very opinionated. I know I'm opinionated too, but he's very like forceful kind of authoritarian type of persona and I just rolled over and the
Mm.
impact on me was like just soul deafening, you know what I mean? It was just like, oh my God, and then pent up rage, the
Hmm.
resentment, anger, just it was really eye-opening for me to see that that was a role that I had taken on from the time my children
Mm.
were young. You know, when you're, as a young new mom or whatever, it was like, I don't want any drama. I got to deal with these kids.
Yeah.
There's enough noise in the household and enough chaos. I can't deal with you too. So whatever you want, and I got into the voice track was literally like, what would you like to do?
Mm,
How would
Mm,
you like to do it? Where
mhm,
would
mm,
you like to go? When should we do X? Even if I had my own sense of what I thought was best,
mm,
I would give it to him so that he could be in charge and so I gave all that power
mm.
over to him. I'm not saying I never made my own decisions or interacted or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in over time, that had this really corrosive effect on me,
mm.
if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I would imagine in shedding that role and then stepping into kind of the different version of yourself or a new identity, that that wasn't something that he necessarily experienced you in that this new role. And so I also, again, like I also think about you coming into your own like power and things like that, how that shifted your dynamic in your marriage. I'm sure it had to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it took a while to like for the kinks to kind of work themselves
Right.
out. And, it's like, oh wow. And then you go, oh, we're actually having fun together again. That's
Yes.
cool. Like,
Mm.
oh yeah, I actually like this person. Yay. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
Mm,
When you wrote the trilogy, and we'll put in the show notes how folks can get it, we will make sure that they have a link to your website and then just, the explanations of what
sure.
everything is. Uh, what what did you feel like, or did you, for as much as you were writing from a place of catharsis, did you think at that time, and this is even just a couple of years ago, did you think that there was a missing part of the menopause conversation that you felt like that was a reason also for why you wanted to get this out? Did you feel like you weren't seeing information that you wanted to see? And so you sort of helped shape that narrative a little bit by saying like, hi, this is what's happened to me.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And excuse me, I know that there are other books out there with, sort of an edge, if you will, but I just felt like I was like, I'm so fucked up and I need to scream about it. I
Yeah.
know everybody else is fucked up too. And then let's not pretend that we're not fucked up. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
kind of how it was. I was just
Yeah.
like, and I didn't want, okay, and this is just me being totally straight. Even at this stage, it's like, I'm not always looking for a solution. Sometimes I just want to fucking bitch
Mhm.
and moan about it. And like, I don't feel
Yeah.
like trying. I don't want to try black cohosh at this point. I just let me fucking bitch about my hot flashes. You know what I mean? Because I've tried every other fucking thing under the sun, and I don't want to try anything else anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even care about solutions. Although if they like gave me like the magic pill for all of it, maybe it's like
Sure.
10 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, sure, look me up. But like, I get tired of the solutions of it,
Yeah.
and the coping and the support and the whatever. And it was like, oh no, I just want to I want to be a little bit miserable and
You want to
sometimes
be
talk about
real.
it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like Nick, I feel like that so aligns with all the times over the years when you have talked to me about like the use of our emotions, right? The use of anger. And that sometimes, I mean, we all know that anything that's bottled up for too long does not serve us, right? It will rear its ugly head at some point in time. But you've often talked about how sometimes you just need to get mad. You need to yell. You need to just like it that's a tool as well. And so, and Parker and I talk a lot about if I could remember the man's name, I think it's Charles Duhigg. Does that name ring a bell with either of you? He's
No.
a very well-known speaker on communication styles and being
Hmm.
able to communicate with all different kinds of people. And he did a TED Talk or a master class on how to communicate well with others. And he talks about this little tiny framework called helped, hugged, or heard. And in that moment, when someone's coming to you,
Mhm.
it is the whole idea, do you want to be helped? Do you want to be
Mm.
heard
Yeah.
or hugged? And so Parker and I have tried to use this in
Mm.
an attempt to, and I do this with my mother too. Like I sometimes when you naturally see somebody is hurting or they're in pain and you love them, we want to make people feel better. Like
Right.
we want to try
Yes.
to help. And so in my way is usually a direct line from my brain to my mouth, and it's just like bleh, like, or my eyes see it, my ears hear it, my brain
Have
thinks
you
it,
thought
and it
about
just like
X?
bleh, like what and how I have learned from my sweet Nick and from therapy, the beauty in asking for permission. I have some thoughts about this. Would you like to hear them? Like I do this with my mom, so that I'm not just bleh, just at
Smart.
her
I
all the
love it.
time, right?
Yeah, I
Mm.
love
And I
it.
don't always do it really well at all. My husband will tell you that I don't. However, I like to think that these things come from a place of love, and yet also helped, heard, or hugged. After a while, you can want to be heard all you want. You can want all the hugs on the planet, but if you keep bitching and moaning about the same thing over and over and over, at some point we have to accept some help. At some point we need to try to open up our minds to a different way of doing things, because clearly the way that we're doing this, and I'm very much I'm I'm a culprit here. You do the same things over and over, thinking that they're going to be different. I now have rambled so much that I have no idea where I was going with all
Helped
of
hug,
that.
helped
Helped,
hug
heard,
or
or
heard.
hugged.
Yeah,
Right. And then sometimes
yeah.
you just want to scream it. You do just want to scream it, and you don't want the fucking help. You just want to live it. And
Yeah,
Well,
it's one
yeah,
of the
yeah,
things
yeah.
that I've learned from Nick, to just sometimes it's okay to feel those things and just
well, it's how we're socialized as women too. Like, let's be real. We're socialized as women to kind of, keep it together, things like that. If we're
sure.
if our
Yes.
holy anger comes out, it's like, whoa, she's unhinged. Like
Yes.
there's a
Right.
narrative
She's so
around.
emotional.
Yeah, like
Yeah. Right.
around that it's seen as like a bad thing, or emoting or crying is
Mm.
inherently seen as oh gosh, she's unhinged, when in fact, if we just looked at it like, just it's moving energy, right? Like, it's the
Sure.
Mm.
movement of energy. And
Mm. Mm.
I think we have to be able to express our anger, because we've spent so many years as part of a patriarchal culture where we haven't been allowed to.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
I think it can be holy, man. I think holy freaking. I'm like, I think part of why, like, I'm so passionate about it is because I spent so much of my time being the people pleaser, and being the golden child in my family and things like that, and being a point guard on the basketball court, where you keep it together and you're the coach on the court, and like, you don't show your emotions. And at some point, like, especially at this age that I'm at, it's like, oh no, that doesn't work for me anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So on the heels of that, Kennerly, what do you wish that 20-year-old Kennerly knew about menopause that she didn't know about? And do you think that
Oof.
now at this stage today that there's anything that you could have warned her about? And are there things that you might have done differently? Or things that, when if your boys choose to marry someday, is there a conversation that you think that you would
Mm.
have with, a daughter-in-law about, hey, just want to let you know, this may be down the road for you. Have you ever heard of Black Cohosh? One of these days, you're not going to want to hear about it anymore, but let me just be the first one to tell you.
Oh my gosh. So a couple of things, and I just wanted to say what Nick just said really resonated with me about like keeping it together and the permission to not anymore.
Mm.
That so resonated, and I didn't mean to sidestep your question, Jen, but
No,
um,
no, please. Yeah,
that
it's
that is
perfect.
like such a huge part of this sort of menopausal experience for me anyway. It's like, uh, taking and literally like taking things off my plate on as much as possible all the time so that I have less to actually keep together
Yeah.
because I
Mm,
just can't do those.
mm,
I just can't be that person anymore.
Mhm.
But to answer your question directly, I, I I guess it's more like, and I think a lot of women now are even more educated because perimenopause language has actually come into it.
Mm.
I didn't know there was perimenopause. I just thought menopause, the stop of menses, that, you know what I mean? And you're somewhere in your 50s. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the perimenopause journey, hit me squarely in the eyes. And somebody said, "Oh, yeah, it could be a good 10 years." And that was like, oh,
Mm.
like
Mhm.
I just couldn't even believe what she was telling me. Like perimenopause
yeah.
and the feeling of you don't actually feel like yourself.
Mhm.
And that to me was like a first sign of something. Like you're just not feeling like yourself. So now I'm actually able to like hear it in younger women who are kind of at that age, like
Mhm.
45, 46, of like feeling like not yourself.
Mhm.
That's probably it,
Yeah.
So I guess in terms of it's not so much advice. I'm sure things will change and continue to evolve. Like there's so much more of a conversation around it now, but like just to really be educated about like it can start quite early for some women.
Mm,
Even in their 30s it can start,
yeah.
right? I mean, it's what you were sharing about your mom and your family and whatever. So I guess the other thing being, oh, I don't know. It's like I resisted so much, but I was also just going through so much. It's just really
Mm.
hard. It's just really hard. And I guess like educating the people around me, educating
Mm,
my husband, my kids, or just if I could have done that, but then
Mhm.
they're so helpless. They're like, oh my God, what do I do? Like when you're having your hot flashes with the guy who's like, you know. So I don't know. I guess I just trust that there will be so much more education for this generation coming up. That they'll be able to recognize these things more clearly.
Yeah, and I hope so too, because I noticed too, just even in my own family, some of my younger cousins and stuff like that,
oh yeah.
who don't know about perimenopause, and I'm thinking to
Right.
myself, and they're the ones who I like know a lot more about things than I do, that because I'm just not of that generation, and so I'm always surprised when they don't know it, and it's like, but you're on the cutting edge of shit, so how do you not know this? And so
Yeah.
but I do think, to your point, like the conversation is, it's gaining traction and voice, and um I would tell my 20-year-old self, start lifting those fucking heavy weights tomorrow, start eating some protein tomorrow. Don't go running 5,222 miles a day, right? Like I would tell myself a different thing, but I'm glad I found it, what I found it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that actually reminds me too. I mean, like, hey, you know what? May as well book off like a three month medical leave. It'll be the best thing you could ever do
yeah,
for yourself. Maybe that
yeah,
will actually start happening, like, or whatever, however long you need. But you know what I mean? Some kind of like,
yeah,
I think the workplace is becoming more responsive to it, but it's not an in full-blown conversation yet. But
yeah,
like, you're gonna need some days off, honey.
yes,
You
yes.
know,
I
and
think we
maybe
should
you
have
just need to go into therapy for intensive, whatever, and just give yourself a break.
totally. I think we should have. We were talking about it on one of our podcasts. Perimenopausal leave. We have,
Yes.
paternity leave, maternity leave. Like we
Yep.
need
Bereavement leave.
menopausal leave. Like I could
Yes.
have totally used that this past two
Totally.
years.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I had to take it in a not so neat and tidy way, I mean, I totally mentally broke down and I had to take
Mm.
that leave. But it was really the best thing that ever happened. It was really great.
Yeah.
How old were the boys when that happened?
About I'd say 10 and 13.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
And
that
Kirk
was
held down the fort while you were.
that was the night I kicked my son's door down. Did I tell you? I think that's in there somewhere, but
That's
I
in the
read
that
book.
that.
was
It's in the yellow book.
yes, it was like that was the defining
Mhm.
moment. But what was really cool about that, and I think this is a way for, I guess, a way for women to not feel afraid of their. Okay, first of all, I was afraid of that anger. That really terrified me. It scared the crap out of my son because there were like splinters. I mean, the door frame was freaking broken down. That's how much I lost my shit, right? But I was so terrified of my own rage that I had to remove myself from the household. My husband was out of the country at the time. Like I told the kids, I'm sorry. My mama's leaving, and daddy will be home tomorrow night, and I'm going to a trashy hotel in Media, Pennsylvania for a few days. But then, so my point is not to be all like dramatic about all that, but to say that it got to the point where it's so bad that um getting to intensive first intensive inpatient and then intensive outpatient was permission to fall apart. So back to this falling apart thing
Yeah.
and keeping it together versus falling apart. Like it was like permission to, I disintegrated. I completely disintegrated. I had no ability to function in my work and my life with my family with nothing. Like I didn't text message for 3 months. I didn't social media for 3 months. I did nothing except bring it all in and focus on me with the incredible guidance. It was a women's emotional wellness thing, and they were just phenomenal. And so it was just like reconstructing myself, whatever new version of myself I was going to be. And I have no idea where I went or how I got there, but on this conversation. But anyway,
Yeah.
permission to fall apart.
Permission to take, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we don't get that in life. And life doesn't give you permission to do that, and that breakdown actually gave me
Mm.
permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You write about that a little bit in the blue book about some of the advice that you give, which I thought was really beautiful, and about women making the time to like make coffee dates, go out with girlfriends, go out with friends. I know from my friendship with you, I love hearing how much you travel, what your solo travel is like or when you do things and Kirk does things with the boys or Burning Man for you, and you're going with your best friend and like the things that you will do together. I love that you have been able to prioritize those things and be able to tell people in these books, like it's the ever equivalent to putting your oxygen mask on first, right? Before you try to help
Yeah.
somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
My question is, now that the boys are older, you have Bo and you have Cooper, and they
hmm
are out there, older teens now, right?
18 and
And so,
21. Yeah.
okay, so they have now experienced, they saw sort of the breakdown and the rebuilding. And I love how you talk about the conferences, the workshops that you guys had done, things that you and Kirk had done together, things that you had sent the boys to, this notion of the
Mhm.
family fucking meeting every week. Holy fuck, like the fact that, even if you elicited eye rolls from the boys when they were younger, like I love how this has a not all of these stories have happy endings, but you guys all worked toward a goal that you were hopeful would happen. And presumably, these boys have seen their parents kind of grow out of the rubble and out of the splintered door frame. It's certainly built a much stronger house, right? It's just built something
Oh,
so
nice
much
metaphor
better for
there.
them. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Um, and how do you see what you and Kirk have gone through and what you went through having changed the boys? And are there things
Hmm.
that you feel particularly proud of that they have gleaned out of your madness and sadness?
Gosh, that's juicy. Thank you. Because so on the one hand, right, they're 18 and 21-year-old boys who like are not particularly interested in some of the kinds of conversations like we're having right
Sure.
now. Yet
Sure.
we still have them.
Right.
And
And I think
and
that's
it
what I
might be,
admire.
yeah, and it might take, it might be with the maybe they'll come back to me when they're 30 and be like, I really understand now. But I think one of the things that that we've tried to drive home is that, you know, here's what be truthful about what happened around here. Be
Mm,
truthful in a way that's not making anybody wrong. But here's what happened. And here's where the challenges are. Here are some of the things that you guys are probably going to get triggered by in life because of the
Mm,
dynamics with your father or with me or whatever. The reactions you have to things in life are not going to be related to the person in front of you. It's going to have to do with something that happened in the living room 10 years ago or whatever,
mm,
mhm,
and to get them to be just a bit more attuned to themselves, right? I actually just had this conversation this morning with Cooper about friendships, and I said, it behooves you to. I know that you don't always feel like going out and being with friends and cultivating relationships and all that, but it really behooves you to take notice of that. Like, the Socratic, the unexamined life is not worth living, right? Like what makes you tick? Why is it that you're doing that? Notice that about yourself if you're avoiding or,
mm,
whatever, not reaching out to somebody. Like, what is that about for you? And like, how can you act in the face of all of that? But like to know themselves and the way
mm,
they tick, and then like
mm,
what environment were you a function of, and what was the way I was, which was like I was depressed and horizontal for 10 years, or like what was the way your father was, which is like screaming through the household. Like those
mhm,
things are all going to affect you and your relationships down the road. And it's not to like make a big deal about it, but like to understand it, like that's all part of your makeup, and it's just the truth, just the
mm.
truth, you know.
mm. It's how can
Yeah.
they metabolize that in a way that, moves them
Yes.
forward. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, metabolize that. I love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is very
That's a
nice.
good word.
I am so
Okay.
stealing that.
That's
Take
the good
it. I
word.
am I am not the writer of the group
No, but
here,
you are the
so
You get a little check mark for
thank
that one.
you.
Very
Thank
nice.
you. Mm,
Oh.
you had a little passage in the blue book about I don't remember if it was with Cooper or with Bo, and the two of you were ta telling one it was basically like, well, I'm gonna cut. I think that you were calling him out on his shit, and you were saying, from now on I'm gonna call you out on those things, and he basically looked at you and said, oh yeah, okay, well, from now on I'm gonna call you out on your shit too. And your response was like kind of wide-eyed and excited, and I don't want to be rude and sit here thumbing through it, and I should have tabbed it before, but your response was good.
Yes,
I
yes,
want
mm,
you to.
yes,
I want you to do that. I want us
yes,
to be able to hold mirrors up to one
yes,
another. And
yes,
that is a
yes.
fucking scary thing to do with kids, with spouses, with friends, with parents. All three of us are adult daughters to our adult moms who are still with us, and like in that dynamic, we ebb and flow through these relationship roles constantly, and truth is that's a beautiful thing that you've at least been able to lay a foundation of for lay the foundation for with the boys. It's fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. Uh, what would you say, because this is just feels like it's just so in the news all the time, and because the more conversations we have with one another, we start realizing that we're all feeling similarly, or there's this thread. Like, what advice would you give to somebody who finds your books on Amazon or thinks that the covers are kind of cute and thinks, okay, well, this might be this title sort of speaks to me. What for somebody who feels like they can see themselves in your story or they hear their situation in this conversation, what would you want to say to them? Or what do you wish somebody had said to you?
Hmm. Um, I'm being with your question. And I'm not trying to like be selective about what I say. I'm just actually really
Hmm.
trying to be with it, you know. Uh, I think it is absolutely imperative to like connect with other women about it. And if
Mhm.
the women that you're connected with are not experiencing what you're experiencing, go talk to some others. Because you know what I mean? Because it's not helpful to talk to the one who's like breezed through life, including menopause, and landed on her feet and like never flinched, right? Like,
Mhm.
so it is helpful to find a tribe around these topics and issues.
Mhm.
I would say at this time in life, a therapist is imperative.
Mhm. Mhm.
Talk to Nicole. Set up your first appointment now, today. Like even, you know what I mean? Even if like nothing is wrong, it's like it's
Yeah.
time to like dig deep and like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like it is your opportunity to turn yourself inside out, know
Mhm.
yourself wholly, create newly, all of that stuff, So I would say that is my main thing. Get a
Mhm.
really good
Yeah.
therapist.
Mhm.
That's really good
Yeah.
advice because I think that a
Yeah.
lot of people don't do it until the shit hits the fan. It's just like
Right.
marriage
Right.
therapy, relationship
Mhm.
therapy, parent coaching, it all happens after the fact. And
Yeah.
maybe if we were all
Right.
just
Mhm.
a little bit more proactive, how
Right.
many more
Right.
healed hearts, heads, and households could we have if we were
Mhm.
just ahead of the
Yeah.
curve rather than catching up, right?
Reacting. Right. Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I know a few, so if you
Broken households or therapists or both.
both,
Yeah.
all of the above.
Preach. Preach. Kennerly, are you working on anything other than we didn't talk about the big memoir as much as we did the trilogy, but are there any other creative projects that you want to give a holler out
Plug.
to or anything that anybody should know that is going to come out of your
Sure.
creative house anytime soon?
Well, Nicole, I'm sure you'll appreciate this one. It's about my experience. It's a book that it was kind of already I had already blogged about it, but it's a book
Mm.
about my experience with ketamine therapy for
Oh,
depression.
cool.
Yeah.
Mm,
And not just depression, but like this existential depression that I
Mhm.
was
mm,
dealing with. And um I know that you probably can't talk about those things like you can't endorse that or necessarily
Mhm.
whatever, but um, I had a favorable experience
Yeah.
using ketamine therapy, and
Mhm.
along with traditional therapy, but
Kennerly, could I
uh,
interrupt you and could you
yeah, of
explain
course.
just briefly what that is for any of our listeners who don't know what
Sure.
that is?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And then Nicole, if I misspeak or if you want to add something, please do. So ketamine is a drug that they use for anesthesia in hospitals, but they found that used in a particular kind of low dose, over the course of a certain number of weeks, um, can really help people with depression, anxiety, other sorts of maladies,
Hmm.
etc. And it's available in home now. You
Mhm.
have to qualify for it in certain ways. You have to work with a psych
Hmm.
nurse and all that kind of thing. But I was very comfortable with the idea, having done lots of drugs back in my day. So I was like, sure, let me try it. But it's part of it falls under the psychedelic medicine umbrella, but it's not necessarily a psychedelic. And
Mm.
what it does is works with the neuroplasticity of the brain. So if things have been firing a certain way and you're feeling whatever, then it can help open
Mm,
new
Mhm.
synapses and pathways and help kind
mm,
of alter things, right?
Mm.
And I think fundamentally, for me, I was experiencing what I consider like a profound disconnect from self and spirit,
mm,
Mm.
which when you feel detached like that, I could barely get through life every day. It was so
Mhm.
awful. Um, and um, and so one of the things that psychedelic medicine or ketamine therapy, as an example, can help produce is an experience of uh it's kind of almost like a spiritual experience. And I think
mm,
that's the benefit that they're finding in like a lot of these, like the psilocybin, the mushroom trials
Mhm.
and the LSD trials and all that, all these things are being studied more and more for their depression, anxiety, PTSD, and so forth. But like being able to produce a spiritual experience um has people altered, right? It
Mhm.
alters the experience of life,
Mhm.
in a meaningful way. That was my experience. So
mm.
I wanted to share that with people, and it happened to coincide with menopause. Go figure.
Mhm. How's it get any better than that?
But if there's anything you know about it, Nicole, or that you wanted
Mm.
to share or add to it, please do.
I mean, I've had a couple clients who have done that and found it incredibly helpful.
Ah,
Incredibly.
cool.
Yeah. And they did it through Mind Bloom. And so
Yeah, me too.
the company that helps make that happen, and they've got just a very, very like it's so thoughtful and intentional way of delivering it, and the structures embedded in it to make sure that the person has a safe experience with it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when a couple of my clients were doing it, they delved into that for the time being, and then when they were done, came back and we went through a lot of the things that had happened for them, and they were changed people. They were
Mm.
That's
changed
really
people.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, it was really,
Interesting.
really cool to see.
That's
How
very
long is a
cool.
course of treatment, or how long was yours, Kennerly?
It's about 6 weeks.
Mm,
Yeah, and kind
okay.
of like spaced out over. You can't like do it like back to back days. They make you wait like a week or
Mhm.
two in between, like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're writing a book about your experience, like a
Yeah, it's
first
kind of a
person?
compilation of like I blogged about it the whole time, so
Okay.
it's called the Ketamine Diaries,
Cool.
fittingly. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, so just
Love
kind of
it.
putting it together. Yeah.
When is that going to be
Fabulous.
released?
That's a great question. Talk about things I just decided to take off my plate.
Mm.
I have a mock. I have a
Mm.
well, I can't pull it up right now, but I have the dummy copy in my
Mm.
hand, and I was
Oh,
like, "Oh God, look at all these mistakes." So I'm kind of like, another phase,
Yeah.
another review and so forth. So I really like so. Speaking of taking things off the plate, I really appreciated the podcast you all did with the lady. Was it Ro the Toth Roth the lady
Host.
the
Tracy
Yeah.
organizer?
Tracy
Tracy
Hoth.
host.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hoth. Yeah. So yeah, just like clearing out the physical space has
Mhm.
been a big thing for me, and I'm in the process of doing more of that. But clearing out all of the
Mm.
like I just don't have to do that right now. And what is the experience of peace that I have when I have less and less and
Mm.
less on my plate? And that's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to create more of that.
Mhm.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
anyway, the book can
That's
wait.
so meaningful.
Yeah. The
When it's
the
time,
the diaries will be born when they're meant to be born.
they
Exactly,
will be.
exactly.
They
Yeah.
Yeah.
will be. Well,
So
Nick, you
Kennerly,
always,
I know
yeah,
I was
go
going to
ahead.
say,
I know. I
we
could feel
always,
it. I could feel it.
wrap up with a question for our
I think I
guests
know what it is.
that it has to do with food. And if you were going to eat one food every single day and not get tired of it, what would that be?
So I've been thinking about this question because I knew it was coming. Um, and I'm just gonna say what it is for me right now. So I love traditional Japanese breakfast, which is like white rice and miso soup. And like,
Oh,
if you were like in a traditional environment, maybe there'd be like a piece of mackerel on a stick or something. But like
mm,
the essence of it is like this nice clean eating, it's this clean bowl of white rice. It doesn't have sauces and anything, it's Japanese, right? It's just white
Yeah.
rice and miso soup. And I just love miso broth, and
mm.
Yeah,
I've
I
been
do
eating
too.
it for the last 2 days. I'm like, oh, this is what I can eat every day,
There you
right?
go.
You taught
Yeah.
you taught Japan is you taught
You thought
English
Japan.
in Japan. You taught Japan how to eat. You taught boom. We don't have to do anything else with the rest of the year because that was just the coolest thing to happen.
I'm
And
writing a
nothing can
book
top
about
that.
that.
You taught English in Japan for 3
Right, right,
years.
right, right. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And
So
is that when you fell in love with the traditional Japanese breakfast?
yeah, because they have, that's not what I ate every day, mind you, but like when you go to the Japanese style inns, they bring you
Mm.
this like whole like 7 course thing,
Yeah.
but it's all just little dishes and it's so
Yeah.
Mhm.
clean and
Yeah.
breakfast is, soup and rice and fish and pickled vegetables or whatever, and it's just so clean, 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 clean.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah,
love it. Love
yeah.
it. Love
Okay.
it. Now that makes me want to go use my Instant Pot from Nick and Heather and make some rice, some jasmine rice, and whip
Oh,
up some bone broth or some miso.
Yeah.
I have miso that you can make soup with that's like the paste in a pouch in the
yeah.
refrigerator, and then I have like the powdered
Mm.
instant miso broth too. And
Yeah,
that's
with
good
a
too.
little, sprinkle of noti seaweed and
Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yum.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, we know what we'll have for breakfast. You're gonna come visit me later on in the summertime, and so I know what I'm gonna fix you.
Perfect. I love
I don't know what
it.
Kirk and Parker are gonna eat, but I know what you and I can have.
Excellent. Excellent.
They can fend for themselves. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was
this
so
was
nice to meet you, Kennerly.
yeah,
Jen has
Likewise.
spoken just so adoringly about you, and I can tell when she speaks about you, her heart is just so full.
Well,
true,
likewise,
Mm.
likewise.
true.
I am honored to be in the Jen's inner circle here with you and
Mm.
kind of just to get to know you better. And I love what you guys are doing with this conversation. It's so good.
Thank you.
It's just you guys are raw and real and
Mm.
silly and wonderful. And I've
Mm.
really enjoyed listening to the
Mm,
Mm.
conversations and the guests.
Thank
So.
you.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. We're
Yeah.
thrilled to have had you, thrilled to see your face, and we
Mhm.
will
We'll put all the
connect
things and
soon.
how people can find you in the show notes and
You
where
got
everybody
it.
can get their hands on the yellow, green, and blue books
And the blue.
because
Yep, all of them.
Thank
very,
you.
very
That's
important.
awesome. Awesome. You guys are great. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. We'll see you soon.
Have a
All
beautiful
right.
day.
Bye.
Well, that was delish. Thanks for pulling up a chair with us at Women Around a Table Eating Food. You can find us here bi-weekly, so if you love today's conversation, hit follow wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube or Instagram at Women Around a Table, and share it with a friend, because there's always room for more at our table.